You're shaking tables now. Okay. So just to reel that, time wasters, intentional, understand, and the small print. She works in governance, so, it's understandable. The small prints. All right. The permanent things and the interim things. Okay. Damien, to you, if you don't want to, that's fine.
I think appreciated or appreciation. I think a lot of men walk around and feeling entitled and think that because you're a woman, you should do this, it's your place, and you should, you cook because you're a woman, you wash because you're a woman, and I think even just your mothers, appreciate them. Every woman in your life, they're not just there to be there, or they don't owe you anything. So appreciated, I think, would be.
Just before you say that, I'd like to know, I think Pastor...
He appreciates me, it's all right.
I think it was, Pastor Chris, it was quite wise for you to sit away from Madam, so you can take this in, because I wonder when your wife is sat beside you and she begins to make noise when you're talking. All right, Ibuko, what do women really want in 2 seconds?
I think women want to be respected. They want someone who would treat them as an equal, because this day and age, women pull their own weight. So they want a man who won't just come and say, submit, submit, submit. There is more to marriage than submitting. So women want a man who will treat them as an equal, who will respect them, who will honor them, and who will be completely honest with them.
All right, so that's the fine print. That's the fine print. Fantastic. So from all you've said, that's a very hard CV. No time wasters, intentional understanding, the fine prints, appreciation, and respect. That's a monster CV right there. Do those kind of men exist? It was a rhetorical question. Oh, he exists. Pastor Chris. Okay. What does nagging look like in the 21st century? Because the stereotype, again, is women nag a lot. So in the world we live in, what does nagging mean? Has nagging gone from verbal face-to-face to WhatsApp messaging? No. What does it look like now from a woman perspective, looking at all the things that we have to grapple with in the millennial where we are? What do you want? And again, that as a background, back to the question. Women nag a lot. Is that true? Why? And what do women want from that point of view? Anyone on the panel? Okay. The millennials are always...
I think it's about... what you're reacting to. So if you communicate with someone, for communication to be complete, sorry, I'm losing my voice. For communication to be complete, it has to be received, understood, processed, and acted on. So when you communicate with someone and the action doesn't follow the communication, then naturally you feel the need to communicate again. And it can be verbal the first time, then silence eventually, then verbal again, then via WhatsApp, then silence, then actually stepping around that thing, then it becomes passive aggression. So as alluded to in the previous panel, there is a part to play in both parties. If we're communicating with each other, there's a respect, and there's an expectation that something is supposed to happen. And when it doesn't happen, then you continually need to keep expressing it again. I think for me, where it becomes dangerous is when you stop talking. Nagging is actually a good sign that the person's still personally invested.
Okay, the women are the ones clapping. Okay, that's understandable. All right, anyone, you want to chip in?
So disclaimer, I used to nag.
You used to nag?
I used to.
Via WhatsApp or FaceTime?
Verbally.
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 Okay. All right.
But I think nagging comes from a place of, I think, a lack of communication. So sometimes he doesn't know what you're asking for. And I think if you're specific and you make it clear that, look, this is what I want, in a nice way, in a respectful way, and especially this is when I expect it by, so set the expectation. So I say, can you please, sort out the garden? And it's been 3 weeks. And every Saturday morning, can you please? I think I would need it done by this day or this time. So the person has, a clear idea that, okay, she needs me to do this by then. Then you would probably get the response you need. But I wasn't communicating clearly. I would just say, oh, I think I need this. And when you say you think you want something, it means you're not really sure. So if I do it, maybe you wouldn't really care. So I think you need to communicate effectively, and then there'll be less nagging.
Okay. So, some men, whilst I went out now, at the back door, some men came up with, about this nagging issue. Men, they try to find the facts in the conversation. They're listening, but they try to find the crux of the matter beyond the emotions that surround it. And sometimes that's why it looks like they're not listening, even though they are. But again, we'll step out from that. The men will deal with that on that. Now, coming into equality, and you did mention about being treated as an equal and financial dependence. And let's just go a bit lighter. This idea of who pays the bill when you go out, how does that play out in the current state? Okay. Is your silence meaning the men should continue paying, or?
I don't know why we're silent today, but anyways, let's start talking. I just feel like we've been talking about it in a general way. Everyone's just different. For me, I would prefer the man to, pay the bills, but then it just depends on your circumstances. If he's not able to do that, then as a woman, I'm going to have to be respectful and do what I'm supposed to do. But for the man, like I said at the beginning, he needs to be intentional. Everything that we do has to be from an intent, a manner. So if he's paying the bills, he's not doing it because he's the man and he has to pay the bills. He's doing it because he's trying to take the load off of me and allow me to focus on other things, whether it's my career or it's looking after the children. He's taking that burden and that load from me. So that's how I see it, that he's paying the bills because he loves me and he's giving me a chance to do something else rather than focus on paying the bills.
Okay, going back to, your question is, we're going on a date. I'm Miss Financially Independent, but who's going to pay the bill?
Yeah.
That depends on whether you're dating, whether you're in a relationship. It varies. But
Okay. Just to pick that. So
Yeah.
if you're dating, what would the scenario be?
Okay,
Very quickly.
I can tell you what I did.
Yeah, personally.
So I can tell you what I did. When we first went on a date, I still came ready to pay my bill. Of course. I'm not going to lean on you to pay my bill. If you pay your bill, well done. You should pay your bill. You should pay my bill. And I tell you why. Me wanting him paying my bill doesn't mean that I'm not financially independent. I can take care of the bill, but I want to see whether you're stingy or not. That's the truth.
All right, we're beginning to get some life now. All right, so
I want to see if you're stingy or not. So I will come there ready to pay, and I did. I'll bring out my card. The waitress will come. I'll bring out my card, and he was like, "No, I'll take care of it." I was like, "No, don't worry. I've got this. I'll take care of it." He's like, "No," and he was insisting. So I'm like, "Okay, you're not tight. That's good."
okay, all right, fantastic. Okay. So for the men, you're constantly being tested. All right. You want to say something very quick on that?
I think I'm the only one who isn't married on this stage. Okay, so talking about dating.
Okay.
First date, he should pay, I think. He asked you out, he should pay.
Okay. Second date?
Second date, again, who asked? If I said, oh, I really enjoyed our last date, would you like to go watch a movie? I wouldn't mind paying, if I was being totally honest.
Okay.
I would still want him to make the gesture, but I wouldn't mind paying. I have been on first dates where I paid. Yes, let's be real. I have been on first dates, and I think that is a no-no. And
what
most of them
restaurant did you
didn't
go?
turn out to be. Sorry?
What type of restaurant did you go to?
That expensive.
All right. Okay, cool.
So, yeah. So
Fantastic.
I think the man should.
The questions reeling in, which are great. And I think y'all are great people to answer this question. Someone has said in the audience, what is romance to a woman? And the reason I'm bringing up this question is all this going out and dating are a byproduct of romance. For a guy, maybe he has a different perspective to what romance is. But from a woman, what do women want in the area of romance? What does it get?
I think it depends on who you're dating or who you're married to. I think Auntie referred to it earlier. You have to understand the love language of that person. And, being romantic means you're doing something that that person would like and enjoy. So you have to identify what the areas or the things that makes that person, tickle. Okay. And then you do it, basically. I think that's being romantic. So it's not necessarily the flowers, because they might not like flowers.
Pastor.
The tickle,
All right, we're going in now, which is great. Anyone wants to talk? Now, are we good? Yeah. I know all of you speak a lot, so I need to dig into this. Anyone want to say anything on romance before I move on pretty quick?
I think you should forget all the movies that you've watched from the past and not practice them in reality, because that's movies.
Well,
so you need to know who the person is, your wife or your partner is, and actually, like what Demi said, express your love through them. For me, I like walks. So if you're gonna, obviously,
you like what?
Going on walks.
Going on a walk. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm more of an adrenaline seeker. So I like to do active stuff. So if a guy is gonna take me out to a restaurant, I'm not really an eater. I don't really go to restaurants like that. So not every woman wants to be going to a restaurant to eat. So think of other things apart from eating.
Okay. So. So, there's a reason why the guys are shouting. You're low maintenance. A first date, I should be careful. All right.
Can I add one thing?
Just one.
Romance doesn't have to cost anything.
Okay.
It doesn't have to involve you spending money.
Okay. So first date could be you just walk.
Whether you be walking again, I don't know.
Okay. No. The men are getting excited that this is creative. We could just walk.
No.
You can even pray walk. You know what I mean?
I don't know about the pray walking.
All right. Just before I cycle back, also about films. It depends on the country you're watching from. So in some particular country, the electricity might just go halfway through. So you don't even get to finish the film. So, as a caveat. All right, there's another question here that says, why do, again, the men are beginning to pipe up now. I hope you know that next week is going to be about what men want. And so be careful of what you dish out. Why do women generally let go of their physical appearance after marriage or after children? It wasn't me.
That's rude.
It wasn't me. That's rude. Look, it's a conversation to have.
I think
Somebody said thank you.
I think that goes both ways, because some men, they're not the... Let's be real, you don't have your six packs no more. So it goes both ways. And I also think the question is, what are you doing to help your woman? Because she can't have the kids, also be looking after you, and you expect her to have a body snatch. It doesn't make sense. You have to encourage her, even if it means joining the gym with her, you have to encourage her. You can't just leave her and be like, oh, you're getting fat, but you're not just...
Okay. Any other person? Oh, she's spoken for everyone.
She's spoken for everyone.
You're united on that.
So I will say, because you smashed it, but I will say that, there's a lot of, she's gotten married, or she's with a guy now, so she stepped down. My brother, when I married you had a pack. So you guys need to understand, you want me to look good, but you need to make sure you're staying on top of your game. And if you want me to look good, why don't you go and buy me something? Buy me something. Buy me a new dress. Buy me a new handbag. Buy me some new shoes.
We can see the shoes.
And he bought it for me.
Okay, it wasn't me. I'm just reading from a paper. But, you know, it's interesting. You go for walks, you know, you gym together. Those who gym, couples that gym together stay, all right. So you came in with a pack, you buy gifts and all of that. All right, great. Great. Particularly, I love what you said, go on walks, you know. So your first question could be, do you like adrenaline? All right, just going back, just joking. Another question here is, why do women think that when a man is quiet, he is angry? So, again, the perspective or the assumption is women think when a man goes quiet, that means he's angry. Do you, from a female perspective, how do you deal with a man who is not too verbal in expressing himself in probably angry situations and rather keep quiet? How do you deal with that as a woman?
I was going to say, I think people always assume that verbalizing is the most prominent way of communicating, whereas it's actual body language, tones, silence. So the silence communicates a lot, and it's about understanding what that silence means. It goes back to that love language thing. If you communicate in the times when things are rosy, you understand the person's temperament, especially when you're dealing with maybe issues with outside of the marriage itself. You can see the way the person deals with it. Maybe they go into their shell, etc. So my husband, if he's upset, he's actually very quiet. And it's something we discussed before he was ever upset, in the sense that he doesn't know what he'll say, and words are like shells. If you crack it, you can't put it back together. So I've learned with time that if he's gone quiet, I'll leave him in his quiet space to deal with whatever he needs to. And then when he's ready, he does come back. So it's about being patient. It's about understanding what that silence actually means. But trying to force the person to talk, it's not going to help. But then if you have someone that is constantly quiet, then maybe that person does need counseling and they need to speak to a third party. And I mean professional psychiatry, like as in help. Because as they say, you know, in statistics, men are more likely to commit suicide than women. Why? Because they tend to internalize, whereas women, we nag by verbalizing everything. And, you know, it really does help mentally as well.
Okay. All right, that's a perfect question. Harriet, someone has just said, well, this is a woman, and she just said, we want men who can babysit children too. So I'm touching that nerve. And this person goes on to say, we want men who can give breakfast in bed.
Yeah, that's a love language. Why not?
Okay. So, sorry? You go to the hotel. You're outsourcing your romance. Harriet, yeah.
It depends on the love language. Depends on knowing if you've communicated your love language with your husband, for example. If you know you're the sort of woman who likes to be spoiled, and these things are the things that keep you happy, then your husband has to understand that these are the things that, you know, would put a smile on your face or, you know, help you out. In terms of babysitting, we all work, man and woman. It all depends on who's home, who's available, and the time pattern of your work schedule. You have to help each other. You have to work as a team, because you can't put that load on one person. It's not healthy for marriage to put that load on one person. You have to communicate effectively with each other on, you know, your availability for anything. For example, if I've got a meeting, I've got anything to do that I can't handle the children, I'd have to communicate that on time and make sure that it's okay for him as well. And if it's not, then let's work together and make it happen. But there are most men, obviously, who can't, you know, don't have the patience to babysit kids. Again, work around what other resources outside of your marriage you can use towards that. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Harriet. The questions literally reeling in, and they're shaking tables. You're the panel to answer all of these questions. All right. So someone has said here just before this, do you expect a man to tell you everything? And as a woman, do you think you can handle everything? And the background from this is men have this assumption that let me contain this situation just so they don't want to get you buttered. But from a woman perspective, what's the play? What do you want in those situations? So something has happened very big, and this gentleman is thinking, you know what, I will handle it. What's your take here?
I think it depends on the impact as well. You can't, I don't think we need, you can't expect a man to tell you everything. Likewise, there's some certain things that as a woman that you probably wouldn't tell your husband or your partner. Not because you're trying to be, not because you're trying to keep secrets or anything. It's just, that's just the reality of life. But I think when there are serious issues that could impact our family unit, I think both people should know. And sometimes you might think as an individual that you can handle it yourself, but sometimes it's actually just getting counsel from another person, as in your partner, and working together to solve the situation. And it might even make it quicker to solve as well, faster to solve. But I think you have to work out the impact of that situation.
So just a lean on to that question, again, from a male perspective. I'm just asking on behalf, not me. Now, taking the very verbal nature, supposedly, allegedly, of a woman, and the fact that, maybe emotions might play out. So take, for instance, this guy then begins to reel out, and then that gets you angry and all of that. As a woman, how do you deal with that in terms of what this gentleman is putting out is literally running you up the wall? And how do you balance that from a female perspective? Because I think men, maybe I could be wrong, but I think men are afraid of the reaction. Yeah. Is that, am I speaking? All right, cool. And for that reason, they rather internalize that than speak about it.
Don't run away, as in don't run away. There are consequences. If you've done something wrong, for example, face the consequences and accept that you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean you should shy away from it. Obviously, people will react. Your partner will react depending on what's happened, but you should expect them to be mature enough and wise enough to be able to get above the reaction, the initial reaction, and actually see it from a logical angle, or whatever the situation is from a logical angle. So yes, we all react when we see things, when we hear things. You can't stop that. But hopefully, there's maturity and there's wisdom that you can then go past that and tackle what's...
Okay. Just quick one for time.
All right. What I want to say is, and guys, if you want to tell her something, but the reason why is because you don't like the way she reacts, tell her, when you react like that, I shut down. Let her know so that she can adjust. If you're keeping it all in here, we will continue to do it until we get that nudge that says you need to chill. But just open your mouth and tell us, I don't like the way you're reacting. I'd say you should do that.
I like the way you're pointing in this direction.
I was here.
I just noticed, I thought you were pointing to me, and I looked back and I looked forward.
Sorry, can I just add one thing?
Yes, please.
It really depends on the message being delivered.
Okay.
And if the thing is big, you need to let her react, let her get out of her system, because that's her right. At the end of the day, depending on what it is, if she didn't react the way you're expecting her to react, you need to be even more worried. Yeah. Let her cry, let her scream, let her shout, and then let her calm down, and then you discuss it. Everyone, we're human beings.
Fantastic. Okay. This one says, do you think a woman's appearance is a reflection of their man's finances? This is a table-shaking question. I can see your faces. Okay.
I can tell you no for a fact.
Now, let me give this a bit of perspective of possibly where this person is coming from. Especially when you grew up in some certain part of the world, there's a cliche that the appearance of a woman is a reflection of how much she's been taken care of, probably by the husband. So I guess that's where this is coming from. But in the 21st century, how do you deal with that as a woman? Walking about feeling yourself, but thinking people have an impression that you're just reflecting your man's money.
I think you should be reflecting your own money, first of all. Not just your man's money, reflect your own money as well. Because I feel like we're basing everything on what the man is making, what the man is doing. But as women, we also are doing stuff for ourselves. So we need to reflect what we're doing for ourselves as well. What the man is doing should be a contribution also to what we are doing. And that should be the reflection that my man is supporting me. My man's there for me. My man loves me. That's what we should be showing, rather than because I've got red bottoms. My man's got money to buy me red bottoms.
Red bottoms, okay.
Doesn't make no sense.
Okay. So, the Christian Louboutin, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And how much does that cost? I don't need to know. I go for walks instead of buying shoes. Someone is going to be walking a lot after that.
Please, in another country, it would be great.
Okay.
Can
I look across. Yes, please.
It's definitely a cultural thing. So working in financial services for about 20 years now, one thing I realized is the people that look the poorest had the most money in their bank accounts. And there's this pressure in society to wear everything you own, where rather than building an empire and legacy for your children's children. So there needs to be a balance between spending everything you make and eating it all. And yes, being presentable, but not everyone has to know your net worth by what you're wearing.
Fantastic. I knew you were going to say that, financial industry, all of Yale people. Great stuff. I look across the aisle and I see everyone is career-driven, doing well in what you do. Accountants, PMs, analysts, compliance, governance. There's this question about the kitchen as a woman's head office. And I'm just going to round up this panel on that. We've got 1.43 seconds to go. How do you handle that in this, your busy lives and being the woman you want to be, and then that stereotype about the kitchen is the first place you have to show excellence before any other thing? Just around. We've got 1 more minute. Who's going first?
I think there's a lot that happens in the kitchen. There's cooking.
Okay.
And there's washing up.
Okay.
I don't mind cooking. You can wash up.
Okay.
So the other things that goes on in the kitchen, I think it's the balance. A lot of men can't cook, bulk cook at the weekends, and have stuff in the fridge or freezer for him to chuck in the microwave. Now, if you then have a man who can't even use the microwave, he needs to go for counseling. Or you have a man who says, oh, it's got to be fresh soup every day. Then you need to go for extra counseling.
Yeah, shaking tables now. Okay, all the fresh food every day, man. Yeah.
Sorry, and just to add to that, let's incentivize the men. Like, we know the number one thing on men's minds, and my husband knows fully that what happens later on in our undefiled, territory, it starts in the kitchen. When he's cutting, I'm cooking.
Okay.
We're talking,
Okay.
we're hugging, and it's all part of the process. It's not I'm in the living room and you're cooking, and then later on it's like, hello, baby. It doesn't work like that. So that for me is romantic.
You're shaking tables now. In fact, you're shaking the chairs too. All right, so what you're saying is, for a lot of men, the missing link is the not being in the kitchen. The presence in the kitchen, that's the missing link. Okay, Nana, I know you want to quickly. I've been given
with that kitchen,
5 minutes.
Every woman is different about what you need to do prior to certain things, but that's a conversation for another day. But I would say with the kitchen, I don't think it's the woman's territory or the man's territory. This is our house, you understand? And if in the 21st century, the women are going out there, we're doing our thing. If I come home late, I do not expect you to be sitting down waiting for me to cook before you eat, because I've come home late. Charlie, I think his head's getting big, but when I come home late, the guy will sort things out. He will cook, he will clean, and he's a good cook, you see? And that helps. So I'd say for us ladies, it helps. We're going out there, we're making money, we're doing things too. Yeah, you can get into the kitchen and you can do stuff too. And if you don't know how to do it, go on YouTube. You can learn how to cook.
Sign up to Hello Fresh as well. That's a really good thing for men
Hello
to do.
Fresh.
If you can't cook,
You can
Hello
outsource.
Fresh is a great way to start to cook.
Fantastic. Has this been useful? The tables you're shaking around kitchen and what starts and ends and whatever, the men will deal with that next week because I think that's a job for another day. But has this been useful, people? All right, please celebrate. Don't stand. Let's celebrate you before you stand. Sit. We celebrate you. Thank you. We went through every single question from the audience, which is great. So right about now, thank you. We'll call you back again sometime. So please, let's celebrate them as they go back to their sit. And again, the reason we're doing this is the family month. And what we've done today is to understand what women want. Next week, we'll be talking about the men. And hopefully, we'll bring that conversation to the center. And then we'll have a more balanced conversation and a more balanced family.